This guy, he sees me. See? I'll tell you, this guy's aware. He knows he's being watched. And see, this guy sees me. See, look at this. Right away. Knows 100%. I'm telling you, these guys just, they're onto me. I don't get it. Look at him. I'm like 40 feet away and he knows that I'm looking. He is smart. I tell you, these guys are way smarter than you think. He knew I had the camera on these guys. Yeah, and then right away he started looking at me. He knew it. I'm right here, buddy. Oh, here he is, see? He's kind of waddling over. He's like, hey, man. Look at that strut. I was like behind the tree. Where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna go? I tell you, this is like a ninja goose. Look at him. He's like, look at this. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, and he's honking at me. He's like, yeah, I know what you're doing. These guys are hilarious. He just knows that I'm looking. And I'm like, I tell you, I've got this camera lens zoomed in, but he knows that I'm looking at him. He can feel it. Hey? Yeah, I know. See? Yep. He was like, yep, I know you. Well, I'm watching you too, man. So now we're watching each other, see? Okay, now he's got the other guys following. Yeah, and they're fun. See, they're all on me here. I don't know, man, these guys, it's crazy. Definitely will never be shot because you can't even get them on camera without them noticing you. So I think these guys are well aware of what happens when people watch them too much. That's funny.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Mountain. So sorry for the clickbait title, but this is a true statement if I ever made one. Right? This is going to be a true statement, and this comes from an idea that I got from somebody who made a comment. And this comment said that, hey, all this guy does is rehash old ideas and talk about them in a new context or whatever. And somehow that, I guess, supposedly that's a bad thing. I don't know. But one thing I want to say is the biggest thing that gets in the way of a lot of people now when it comes to making gains is that they discard the old ways. They discard what worked for generations of people who exercised. They discard what worked, all for the sake of coming up with something new and inventive. Kind of like putting, I don't know, a metaphor, like something stupid, like putting a saddle on your cat just for the sake of making him into battle cat. Meanwhile, the cat gets crushed every time you sit in the saddle, but it's cool, right? Because it's new. So the fact is that just because something is new doesn't mean it is better. So to discard the generations of knowledge that came before us and the many decades of experience, to discard that just for the sake of coming up with something new would be stupid, right? So if something produces results, there must be some truth to it. So the basis of this entire channel is finding the truth in training for you. Now, the other part of this channel is understanding that you are a big variable in this. And this is also going to be an answer to somebody else's comment who said, hey, I see that you're eating organ meat, so I'm out. I discard everything that you've done for me and all the useful knowledge you give me because you're doing something different than me. Well, it's like, that's exactly my point. What might work for you might be different than what works for me, but what I'm showing you is the experience. And the one thing you have to know is knowledge is useless. It is useless without experience. Experience is king. So as you experience things, you will find that some of the information you read or learned from people or different sources will be either true or false for you, but only having the experience will show you this. So this is a channel that says, how do we get a deeper experience so that we can evolve in what is right for us? But don't let your ego get in the way. This is a big thing in the YouTube fitness community and Instagram fitness, is that people will read something and then they'll get attached to that piece of information because it works a little bit for them. And they think, oh, that's the only way, instead of realizing that there is some truth to their own experience, along with the many experiences of many people who have established massively awesome, pumpy and lumpy and bumpy physiques in the past, right? Look at all the old school bodybuilders. They all did certain things to gain muscle. They use certain techniques, they use progressive overload, they use different rep ranges, they use certain exercises, and a lot of these things are the foundation of what bodybuilding is today. And to discard all that knowledge, to throw it out the door just because it's not new, would be stupid, right? Because that's where the results are. So you don't have to try to invent the wheel just to be trendy. This is where a lot of the CrossFit type of things that I talk about come from, right? A lot of times I make fun of this stuff because you don't have to reinvent the wheel in order to get results. What you have to do is blend the past wisdom and evolve that in how it fits to your body. Now, whether that is doing a certain type of technique, whether it's full range or partial range, or whether it's doing a majority of calisthenics movements with weight training or vice versa, or whatever works for you, I'm open to it. I'm not one of those guys that has a philosophy that says, hey, whatever worked for me must be the exact same thing for you. But I am going to say that what I have seen and what I have experienced has a certain measure of truth to it. There's a reason why you'll see a massive commonality in what produces results for the general collective of natural drug-free bodybuilders. And there's a reason why, if you compare them all, there's certain commonalities that seem to thread through all of them. So start with that. Don't discard that one truth just because you want to be different or you want to be inventive or you want to, brand yourself in a certain way. Because I don't do anything on this channel for branding. I never invented what I did or what I'm doing, like some people have accused me of. They say, oh, you just do that just because you're trying to brand yourself and be different, right? No, this is what I did. Everything that you see on this channel is what I did in order to establish an award-winning physique at a national level in professional natural bodybuilding. So everything I did, I actually put the rubber to the road and accomplished something with. So you have a lot of people giving you philosophies and they're talking, but have they accomplished anything with what they're saying? Because a philosophy is worthless if it doesn't produce results. So I think one factor a lot of people don't take into account is the effect of our ancestral DNA. And we may be all from the same ancestors, whatever, but there's a point to where there's different heritage or lineages that we come from, right? So for instance, I have more of a native background. My blood is native, so that's going to affect thousands of generations of adaptation to certain ways of life, such as eating, lifestyle, the type of activity that my ancestors would have done, whereas maybe your ancestors come from a more agricultural background or tribal background, who knows, right? But I do believe that this will affect how your body has evolved, right? It's all evolution. It will affect how your body has learned to adapt. And who knows the effect of multiple generations living according to a certain lifestyle, like what type of change in the digestive system, along with the musculoskeletal system, like what kind of changes take place because of that, right? Because the strong survive in a certain environment, and if a certain environment dictated that they needed to have a certain amount of endurance in order to survive, or a certain ability to digest certain food as opposed to other foods, this will affect who lives and who dies. And the ones who lived, it's like natural selection, the ones who lived will basically have these certain abilities that go in alignment with survival in that particular environment. So don't forget to honor that as well about yourself, that we all come from different lineages, we come from different backgrounds, and this will affect what type of nutrition or training may be best for you to a point. I do believe it's a factor. It's not something that's talked about. I don't know how many studies are done on different ethnicities and how they adapt to training. I just don't know if there's enough profit in it to really do a study, right? But at the same time, I do believe it also affects why there are people that discover so many different things about their training and why something different for them works as opposed to someone else. So really my main point is, don't separate yourself from people just because they find something different works for them. It's like me separating from you because I have a different size foot.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, sir.
What size are those feet?
11?
11.
11.
Only 11? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was Bozo the Clown on there down like press. I didn't think. Right? If I have a size 10.5 foot and you have a size 12, that doesn't mean we're both wrong. It just means we have certain physical characteristics that are different, but it doesn't mean we have to disconnect based on philosophies. So I think this is something that's wrong with the online community now, and you see it everywhere in the world, where people are choosing to disconnect based on ideas, disconnect based on ideals, but they're assuming that everyone is exactly the same as them, so that way everyone has to live exactly the same way. even though there are certain things that we cannot change. I mean, you could change a philosophy, but you can't change your body. And if your body adapts a certain way, then that's the way it is. So just because someone squats different than you or somebody bench presses differently than you, that doesn't mean you have to hate them, right? And the other problem with connecting just through philosophy or ideal is that how many times in your life has your opinion changed? Sometimes new information comes to light or new experience comes to light. And when new experience comes to light, your philosophy changes. So why would you stifle your evolution by saying, I know everything already and I'm only, maybe 2 years into training? Because you'd be surprised how many people come to me and they said, hey, I've been training for 4 years, I'm an advanced lifter, I know everything, and Jason, you should be doing it this way, even though I've obviously produced results and won at a high level in natural bodybuilding. I got my pro card, I was national level winning competitor, I won the Canadian championships, I was pro, I got second in the natural Olympia, I did all these things, but then people come to me and say, oh no, I've been training for 4 years, so I know more than you, even though I've been doing this for 30 years. So experience has to be key in this. Information does not trump experience. If you've experienced something and you read some information somewhere that goes against your experience has to be true, because your experience is what produced the result. And people call this anecdotal, but the fact is that there's still some truth to anecdotal evidence. It doesn't mean it's telling you the entire picture, but there is some truth to it. So what produces the result has to be the truth, not just something that is a blanket statement philosophy that's supposedly supposed to apply to everyone, otherwise there's something wrong. I mean, a garden is only as good as its diversity. I mean, you can't have all red flowers or all purple flowers. I mean, sometimes having different flowers is nice. I mean, I wouldn't look at trees and say every tree has to have the same leaf. Every tree has to bear the same fruit. There are variations in species as well, right? Not all dogs are the same color. Not all dogs have the same fur. Not all dogs are the same size, Not all dogs walk the same or run the same or bite the same. So this is also something that you have to take into account as a human being. We have different variations, and this will affect what is the best way for us to eat and train in order to produce a specific result. Mountain. So yeah, don't let this get in the way of your training. Don't let this get in the way of you getting results from your own training. Don't discard your own experience because somebody's telling you it's wrong. Find out, are you producing results by doing what you feel to be true? And if the results are coming, then there must be some element of truth to it. So don't discard that. And that's a big mistake I find people, they second guess themselves all the time. Even though they're getting results, they see somebody else and they let their insecurity get a hold of them and they start believing someone else instead of realizing that their experience is also telling them part of the truth. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video just to make this a little bit more clear to you that it's also okay for you to honor your experience, and it's also okay for you to have a different training method or discover something different that works for you than myself. I'm not here to push you into my way of training. I'm here to push you into a deeper truth for yourself and to realize what works for you. Too many freaking kids around here. Talking. All laughing and stuff. How dare they be happy? Oh good, that's better. He's crying now. I'm just kidding, I like kids. When they're at like a long, far distance away, they're pretty good. As long as there's somebody else's. So thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. And thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.
Can I get